Hi, I'm Woodcraft CZ and welcome to my first YouTube video. So let's get straight into it. Here I'm removing the screws on the laguna's fence to give it a flat surface for the Jessem guides to be bedded on. During some parts of the video, the more repetitive parts, I'm going to speed up the process so it's not too boring. Here I'm taking measurements to find the dimensions of the plywood I need to cut so it's a perfect fit on top of the fence. I'll be using 18mm plywood. Here I'm adjusting the fence to the dimensions I just took. And tapping the fence just for those micro adjustments. I don't know about you guys, but I really have to get rid of some of this surplus wood I have. I just can't seem to get rid of it. Okay, so I'm just going to cut down some 18mm plywood. Just giving it a practice run through to make sure that it goes through smoothly. Yep, we're good to go. Time for the real deal. Unfortunately, the cut-off gets away from me. So just checking the piece I just cut fits. I did mess this cut up, so I had to recut it, but you'll see that later on in the video. So here I'm just taking measurements where I want the mag switches to go. If I remember correctly, these are the mag switches 150. The largest diameter on them is 40mm. So this is where the first mistake I made was, when marking out where to drill the 40mm holes, I centered them to the plywood, where in fact I should have off-centered them so they were centered to the fence rather than the plywood. So here I'm using a 40mm bit to drill the holes. So now, just checking the hole to see how the mag switches fit. That's pretty snug. And now, just giving the plywood a round over with my handheld router. I'm leaving the edge that sits against the fence at 90 degrees so it fits flush. And using a sanding block, I'm just going to take some of the rough edges off. Okay, so as you can see, there's two pieces of wood there. One that was finished and one that I'm just measuring up now. The reason for this mistake was I preemptively started making the plywood panel for the rail to sit on before I'd actually received the Jessem guides, and due to cutting the hole centre at first when it should have been off centre, I made the mistake and cut it down shorter, and it ended up being too short. So hence the resaw and the new piece. So as you can see, very blurrily, sorry for that, there's 4 sets of 3 holes on both the left and right side of the rail. I've chosen to go on the second hole, the middle hole, to secure it to the plywood. I'm using a centering drill bit to drill the holes. I'm using pan head screws so they sit flush against the rail. Now time to test the mag switches out. So the reason for the duct tape is that there's an ever so slightly small amount of play when I put the mag switch in and secure it. It's a vertical play, so this duct tape just helps eliminate that up and down movement. So my reasoning for the duct tape underneath in the centre is because of the signage on the fence, the F3 and the Laguna signage. I'm just putting it there so it sort of eliminates any play in between the signage where the metal touches the plywood. Okay, so now for the big reveal, the Jessem guides. I have to say they're beautifully crafted, the aluminium's solid, it's well engineered, just the quality's superb. So to place the guides into the rail, you just loosen the front and back bolts and slide it on in. Once your placement has been found, you just tighten the bolts you loosened to begin with. So now time to read the manual. I say read, but more casually peruse. So according to the manual, the legs that put pressure onto your stock timber need to be at 30 degrees minimum. I've used this angle finder, which gives a 60-degree angle to sort of offset it from the 90 degrees, leaving 30 degrees, as you can see. Here I'm adjusting the length of the legs so they sit at 30 degrees on the table saw's surface. It's just a case of loosening 2 hex bolts, extending the leg to fit the angle and then retightening them. This is how I'll be keeping the Jessem guides when I'm not using them. So when it comes to setting the height, I found that if you measure off the stock you're going to cut and place the inside of the aluminium leg on top of your stock. That will be the correct height for it to go under the roller. You can see how the mechanism works. Look at the spring-loaded pin. As the stock goes under, it puts pressure on the spring, and in turn the leg puts pressure on the stock. The wheels, I believe, have a 5-degree angle going towards the fence, so ever so slightly puts a bit of pressure towards the fence as well downwards to the table. Okay, so that's my first YouTube video. If you'd enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like, maybe even a subscription. Would be greatly appreciated. And thank you for watching.